After formalities and introductions of the press day at the Nürburgring, it is time for the main event to start. It's time for the hottest ticket in GT3 racing to return us tonight. Absolute Sim Racing present to you round one of the Race Anywhere World Series. Good evening, everybody. My name is Craig King. With me on the camera and the microphone is Daniel Hanover, and tonight we're here at Daytona International Speedway in Florida. A track built in 1959 by Bill France Sr. The track designed to give fans a better view of the cars racing around with its high bankings. And of course, lights installed in 1998, making it the third largest single-lit outdoor sports facility. That's the oval side. We're here for the road course, of course, not the NASCAR road course. Built in 1959, this now 5.7 kilometer track hosts one of the crown jewels of endurance racing with the Rolex 24. Many memorable moments from this track. Fernando Alonso in the wet with the late braking down to the bus stop. And of course, when the Ford won its first race with the GT40, of course, famous now in the film Ford versus Ferrari. But for the World Series, this has got history itself. James Armstrong holds off Sean Campbell by 4,000ths of a second at a photo finish 2 seasons ago. The race memorable for basically Peloton, the top 8, all together, bumper to bumper, for 50 minutes. That's 5-0, not 1-5. It is going to be a close race. It is going to be a fuel-saving race. Daniel, I think it's safe to say, with the times we've been singing in practice all throughout the week and tonight, it's going to be a very close race.
A close race indeed. Yes, good evening, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. I mean, Daytona is a track. We did see this in the Race Anywhere Transatlantic Championship as well. That slipstream is obviously is very, very key here, as we know. Timing is also key as well with these mandatory pit stops, that you've really got to actually, instead of coming out behind someone or coming out in clean air, you've actually got to think about coming out in within some form of proximity to someone that's around you. That way, at least you're going to then be able to pull yourselves along. It's a very, very strategic track here, and it's going to be producing some very, very good racing, I'm sure.
We're going to see a lot of clutching. We're going to see a lot of lifting. And I go back to that Peloton thing. I love saying that. And this is where qualifying is crucial. Because if you're at the front of the train, you're going to control the pace. And you're going to be pushed along as well by everyone behind. But one thing I remember from 2 seasons ago with the pro drivers, and we were talking about this, where there was no overtakes for the whole track until they got to turn 1. A move at turn 1, set yourself up for a move into the first horseshoe, and that was it. And then a train once again. So qualifying is crucial. You can start to see sometimes are coming through right now. The amateurs are out on track first. Magnus Jonland taking the first time, which of course that would be a time like this, mainly due to the fact that their pit box is before the start finish line. So you'll see these times, they're not representations of real times. They will be coming through anyway. But it's just such a fun track. That run down to T1, in my opinion, is one of the, I know people call it one of the scariest corners. It's one of my favorite corners, I must say. I don't know about you, Daniel.
Which was this turn 1?
Yeah.
It's definitely, it's quite technical when you actually look at Daytona as a general circuit, and you look at it as it's a relatively simplistic circuit, to be perfectly honest. As soon as you actually start driving it, you then realize that it's a very, very different beast to drive. There are technicalities, especially when you're going into, as you say, turn 1. It's an interesting corner. It's not one of my personal faves, but at the same time, I can see the appeal of it because it's slightly off camber. You're also braking and trying to turn at the same time, so you've got a lot of technical, well, really just a load of technical things going on. You have to be cautious and careful, but at the same time, if you're too cautious and careful, that's going to cost you some time. So I can see the appeal of it. I can see the appeal of it.
And of course, there's so many different ways you can take it. In a car with downforce, you're probably going to take a wider line. With these GT cars we're going to see today, they might tuck into the inside and almost kiss the tire wall there. And of course, one of the things changing a few seasons ago as well is the real life pit lane is now in effect here. So it's no longer come out of the NASCAR pit lane and then full speed around the little pit exit lane at turn 1. Now you're on the pit limiter all the time, and that adds to time in the pits, that adds to strategy. So looking forward to it, and we are seeing some times just coming in already. Henning Haig setting the fastest time so far for the amateurs in that Audi, a 1:43.971. We do have a couple of people. Kedia Thayahug just going purple there, but he's unable to go faster. He did a 44.560. Ingo Lapsian as well. He had a 1:44.192. Currently purple in the first sector, but he's had a bit of a bad second sector. We've got the slow-mo guys just going around the way. You can just see a lot of slow times at the moment. And really, if you make a mistake at one of these corners, it is going to cost you. It may be, like Daniel says, a simplistic track, but if you get on that throttle too late, or if you just overcut the corner a little bit, that the times are just extrapolated, especially when you come onto the oval right now.
Yeah, exactly. If you're getting on the throttle just a little bit too early, the back end steps out. Okay, yes, you lose half a tenth maybe at the start of this particular straight, for example, or you have a slightly worse exit going on out of the bus stop. Yes, you will lose a tenth or half a tenth at the start, but then coming down into turn 1, all of a sudden that's exaggerated, and then you lose 0.3 of a second. It's very, very, it's very demanding, and it does not take any prisoners, Daytona. It's just a very simple track, but at the same time, you've got to get it very, very good indeed. Dean Timms moved up into P3 with a 1:44.094. 0.3 behind. Henning Haig has decided to prove me wrong. It's still 0.3, only by 0.05 of a second. So this just goes to show how close everyone is. 0.005 of a second, even, apologies, separates Henning Haig and Ingo Lapsian. That is insanely close. And this is going to make for some cracking racing, especially like we said. It's so key focusing on the aero here, getting a toe. And at the end of the day, Craig, if the gaps like this are what we've been looking at, I think that's going to be absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, you just look at it as well. The top 6, all within 0.4 of a second. Everybody really, you're looking at a tenth, couple hundredths. You look at the gap between Magnus Jonland and Dylan Kinch, 0.007 of a second. You look at the gap between Simon Dodd and Frederick Joy, 0.003 of a second. Of course, that 4,000 at the top. So the amateurs really showing us, and you can also see the pedigree out there in terms of the classes. You can see that the cars that can just go a little bit better on the top speed are just showing their worth here. So the Audis, there's a Porsche, a Ferrari there, Dean Tim. I've got to say, Dean Tim, a really good time there. A couple Lamborghinis. It's you think that really the Lambo being the updated version of the Audi almost would be better than the Audi, but the Audi really showing its worth at the moment. The Pro-Ams now coming out, of course, and that promises to be very interesting. We do see the Ford of Ethan Bass there. We see a couple Lamborghinis, a couple Fords as well. Ferraris. I would love to be more Fords, but no, we just got the one out there today. And of course, just want to just something nice at the top there. I know it's not the same car, but Daniel Gilding there, the Nomad boys, just running a very nice livery at the top there with the very nice message on the roof of the car of the Nomad drivers. It's I did see it. I must be honest. I did see what it was. It was Ryan Hamilton celebrating the 1-year anniversary of his mother passing. So a very nice message on the top of the Nomad drivers' cars today. So we're sending all the love to Ryan Hamilton. Of course, it's never easy, especially on an anniversary. So all the love to Ryan Hamilton, and you should expect to see the Nomad guys going pretty well out there, I think, with Daniel Gilding the first one out.
Indeed, Lamborghini's a good car. It's a strong car. It's very well balanced. You've got to be careful that you don't. As we just see there, Daniel Gilding actually demonstrated that quite well, actually, for me, as we were just saying. You do have to be careful if the rear wants to come around on you, because it will start to go, and then all of a sudden it will snap back straight if you're not too careful. It's not necessarily an overcorrection or anything. In fact, it's something that Daniel Gilding really didn't do anything wrong. Cold tyres, plus maybe a mixture of diving into the brakes a fraction too deep, and that's what can happen. So fair play for Daniel for straightening the car back up. Minimal time loss, but it is something that drivers are going to have to watch out for, especially in cars like the Lamborghini. Ferrari isn't too bad, but the Lamborghini does tend to have that little bit, very similar to the Audi. It has that little bit of a rearward streak. If you're not careful, the rear can snap out on you. But like I said, we'll have to see how that portrays in the race. There is Ethan Bass having a small moment. That's on the exit of bus stop. I imagine that was just on the grass. Again, cold tyres probably didn't help.
Yeah, I would have thought that would be the grass as well. Of course, nowadays, with the changes to Daytona, there's no more, well, there's grass there, but there's no more big patch of grass for you to go over at the exit of the bus stop. The bit of tarmac now, as they put in due to the NASCAR coming here last year, sorry. So just having a bit of extra tarmac and a bit of runoff, it has helped with the driving, and actually helped a lot of people with their lines at the bus stop. And no more 1Xs, no more off tracks around there, which is very nice to see. You can just see as well, this Porsche, it's really the first time we've seen the Porsche around here. And you were saying about those corners with the back going out. It's safe to say, when you've got the weight at the back of the car like the Porsche does, you don't have to worry a lot. It's more, look at the fighting as he's braking though. You can just see that steering angle. There's a lot of moving there, a lot of counter turning, a lot of everything. Comes into the oval entry corner. Let's just see what happens. All there, and then he gets on the throttle. Look at that tweak. Look at that little twitch there. I am surprised at that, especially when you think to yourself, that's a rear engine car. And the Porsche there, he's just getting it a little bit, well, he's sliding the back out a little bit.
The Porsche, you tend to find this as well, and this is driver coaching coming into this now. I won't talk about it too much, I promise. But what happens, because you've got all the weight over the rear, and you haven't got much weight over the front, the rear acts like imagine what would be like a pendulum. If it starts to go, it can actually gain momentum quite quickly. So as the car starts to rotate, if you do get on the throttle a bit too soon, the rear will start to go, and then all of a sudden that weight carries the momentum and it picks it up quite quickly. That's why the rotation happens all of a sudden. Naturally, you would think that it has a little bit of understeer because it hasn't really got too much weight over the front. If you're trail braking correctly and you're trail braking right, getting on that throttle will send the rear around a little bit. So it is keeping this in check. The other thing as well to note is the front tyres take a very, very... You've got to be careful, especially when you're going into... That was very, very deep on the brakes by Cody Pride. But yeah, you've just got to be a little bit careful on the tyres as well, because you haven't got too much weight over the front. It's very, very difficult actually to know when the tyres are losing traction. So you've got to see that. Luckily, Daytona isn't too hard and too aggressive on the tyres, because half of the lap is pretty much flat out, ran a very, very with minimal steering lock. But go to tracks, when we start going to tracks, Imola, Silverstone, places like that, that's going to be a very, very big test of these cars. It's quick, but you've got to drive it properly.
One of those cars as well that it's people like to see it, but it's very hard to get it right. As you can just see some of these times coming in at the moment. Svenny Mattis is setting a time in the Lamborghini, and then the BMW of Chris Wally. The BMW, of course, it's a dove everything car to me, and compared to the Porsche, it's very balanced, especially with the engine at the front. But the Porsche, it has that speed, as you were saying, and you can see why at tracks like Spa, tracks like here, and just tracks with a bit more wide open, you see people go to the Porsche. Even the GTEs, you see the Porsche a little bit more dominant, but it is doing it pretty well around here. Do see it at the moment. You can just see at the bottom there, thanks to our timings. Cody did go purple the first two sectors, but he came onto the oval. He was yellow. He's come out of the bus stop, and I think he might be onto a run here. We'll keep an eye out. His first lap was invalid. He had an off track, as we saw on at the bus stop. We see these two having a little bit of a go. It's the two Eclipse racers having a little bit of a slipstream, but a little bit of a slipstream to help each other here, a la Ferrari. In the old days of Ferraris, we just see as they come across the line right now. Well, they're not coming across the line right now, just seeing other times. Svenny Mattis is still leading. Chris Wally still there. And then Albin Kelberg just throws in that 143 Devil number. James Costa unable to go faster. And that is a car going into the pits. Ryan Hamilton, what can he do, though? I think he is on a flying lap. It's not going to be purple at the moment. I think Ryan Hamilton might be on for a good lap here.
Well, let's have a look. No, well, he has just gone up into P3. Joachim Code as well. He's just gone as well. P5 in the Audi. Good to see another Audi kicking about as well. Thomas Danger is there. Everyone's coming across the line now, and will be coming to the end of their qualifying. They're going to get the pros out. Ethan Bass goes through up into P11. So a respectable time again from the Ford. It is a very, it's an older car compared to what you would find with its modern counterparts. So again, good to see that people are still running it. Obviously, Ethan Bass, and I believe we were saying last week this is the car that he normally races with. I believe, isn't it?
It is. It is. It's a car he always races with, even to the point where you look at it. He even drives the GT2 variant, so he knows all about the car. He knows all about what to do with that car. Very good with it, but. It's a shame we don't see more Ferraris, but the moves he was making in press day was fantastic. But that is that, and now we're getting ready for the pro drivers. And talking of a pro driver, there's a nice little pro licensed driver at the front of this queue here. Nick LaBouche taking the lead, and I think really we're going to be looking out for what he does. Now, I don't know if it was hiding, I don't know if he was getting ready for something, but in practice, he was 3/10 slower than Martin Nedlich. And that just gives you an idea. He was the third fastest, but he was 3/10 slower. Was that just him not showing his true pace? We'll wait and see when we get ready for this. If the pit lane opens, the pit exit opens there for these pro drivers, going to be really interesting. Seeing that BMW, see a Ferrari, we see what? Another Porsche there. We see another Ferrari. We see another Ferrari and Porsche. You get the idea. And of course, they are locked to this car all season. No driver swaps. Or no car swaps, sorry, I would say that right. But you can just see the pros. It's a Lambo. It's a Ferrari. It's a Porsche. That's it, really. Or it's a BMW. You don't really see anything else from the pros.
Yeah, I think, again, like there's a certain number of cars that are generally relatively easier to drive. You've then also got the fact that they are popular. There's lots of knowledge on setup. This is the other key thing as well, is setups need to be, you've got to be on the ball with setups. You really, really do. So let's take that into consideration as well. So, realistically, again, when you're in that sort of position, you're going to want to have as comfortable of a season as possible. You don't necessarily want to be learning the car unless you're very, very experienced like Bass is with the Ford. Then you've got to have that. You've got to be very confident in trying to learn that car as well as adapting it, as well as putting some pace on pace on the board. So just all in all, there's lots of things you've got to be careful of there. And if you're not, then you're going to be on the back foot when you're trying to actually maintain positions or get ahead of people in the championship.
Yeah, and of course, as we go then back to what we were saying to start the broadcast, this is all important. You need to get a good time out here, first of all, because qualifying is very important around here. And of course, you see those times, those greens, they're just invalid. Don't worry about that. Their pit box is before the line, so we don't have to worry about that. So one thing that will be interesting to see is just what the pace is, because we've seen these qualifying times in the pro-ams and the ams and the pro-ams, sorry, they were doing 43. So are these guys going to be doing 42s? Are they going to be doing 43? It's very interesting to see. I am looking forward to seeing it. This is the biggest pro field the World Series has had ever. Just full stop. Full stop. Biggest field we've had. So it is really going to deliver, especially with one of the highest I-rating drivers we have seen in the series since we had, I think we had Josh Thompson come in for a cameo 1 week. So promises to really be some top-class racing around here. And I'm really, I wouldn't say curious at the speed. I'm just wondering who's going to get the pole.
I mean, it also depends on what people have set up for. Have they set up for qualifying? Have they set it up for the race? I'd always personally set it up for a race, especially in the 75 minutes. If it's a 20-minute sprint, absolutely you want to have as much pace as you can wherever. So you go for a high risk, high reward sort of setup. 75-minute race, you've got to be a little bit more careful, I think. So, having that control, especially when you're initially in the, in qualifying, you need to get a banker lap in, and then you can start pushing. Some people do it the other way around. Personally, again, I'd always have that banker lap in, then you can go forward. At the moment, we do have time starting to come in now. Harley Horton just gone on pole position. Nick Labiche is not too far behind, only 0.04 of a second. There is the Full Send Racing Lamborghini. Victor Yalom, he's just gone up into P3. You got Manson. Right, who was that? Reynolds is also going. James Armstrong. These are the times coming down. These are the times that we wanted to see. A 42.9 from Gas Huguenot. Wow, that is a quick time indeed. The only person currently in the 42s by 2.5 tenths of a second. So there we go. Craig, that has answered our question.
That answered our question. 6 drivers in practice did a 142, and we're not seeing anything else at the moment. As I say that, Bennett almost goes in for 143.093, but it's not enough. Galbert with that 143.127. The times are tight. The top 5 separated by just under 0.3 of a second. But we've still got one more lap from these drivers. Another minute for some of these drivers. Harley Horton has slipstream from Augusto Calasimi, and that can be very helpful for him as he tries to go. He might get a little run here. Augusto will be trying to fight for his own position. Is there going to be a little bit of chaos here? Horton's going to come across to the bus stop. They're going to almost come together. That's going to hold up Horton, and that may just cost him a little bit. He had all that slipstream, and he finally until Augusto goes wide. But has that cost him? Has that cost him for the Full Send Lamborghini? We'll wait and see as the times now starting to come in. You can see there, not a lot of purple. Not a lot of purple. The Bush, he does not improve. A 43.190. Not good enough. Horton's going to be the next one. What has this done for him? What has this done for him right now? He's going to come across the line. I don't think he's done enough. I don't think he's done enough for the 151.151. He's just slower. He's just slower, and more cars now coming by. Rats comes in, it's not fast enough for him. Yawin, it's not faster. What about Reynolds? Reynolds comes in, again, not faster. And who's that just coming up to the border? It's Huguenot. It's still there, and he's coming to the pits. Campbell can't do anything. Bennett can't do anything. Nedlick might be the last one to do anything right here. Comes across the line, it's not faster. It's not faster. I believe that is everybody. I didn't see any improvements on the second lap.
No, it could be the weather, could be the tyre temp sort of going a little bit too high for people. Again, you've got to be, you've got to be driving the car within its when it's straight. They may be, again, people may set it up. Harry Will's actually just gone up into P10, so that was a position made for him. So he's actually made quite a few positions up now into 10th place. It could just be, like I said, the track temp may have just jumped up a little bit, which cost everyone a little bit of time. That's my initial theory. I could be wrong, but that's what I would naturally go with. It's just they weren't able to maximise. The first lap was very, very key. It was good, though. I mean, definitely for Huguenot, that has absolutely set him up. And you think, 10th and a half, I'd say it's a fair chunk of time round here, especially when you've got slipstream and stuff. Let's not count it out too much, because I'm sure what we may see, looking at the gaps here, we may see a top 5 breakaway, possibly, maybe in the top. I mean, to be fair, look at that. You've got up to P11 in the pro class. You've got half a second. I mean, realistically, we could have a top 10, top 11 breakaway, providing that they don't battle. I'm sure they will do. But at the same time, we'll see. We'll see.
We shall see. By the way, Alex Bennett did improve his time, but he could not. Just again, it was a .020. off getting under the 43 bar into the 42. So that time with Huguenot is going to be crucial, because if that's what he's setting, can he keep that pace up? And of course, we always talk about it. Well, that's your qualifying pace. Is that good to your race pace? You know, what are they holding? What is LaBouche holding? What is Reynolds holding? Sean Campbell, we know, is a fantastic race. We know is a fantastic long distance runner. In fact, like I mentioned, he won the VRS Global Endurance Championship this season. All races, they dominated his team. And you look at that again, he's got the pace. Harry Wills there in the Mercedes. Very interesting day for Mercedes on iRacing, of course, with the announcement of the F1 cars coming. A very good P10 there as well. Some fantastic times there. It's really interesting, because we saw how close it was for the Pro-Ams. We saw how close it was for the AMs, and it's really safe to say that it's going to be really close. And by the way, Cody Pride just posted in the Discord. We saw that off track on the cockpit. It was very good catching that on the cockpit for his first lap. He just was off the track. And I mean, just literally his two wheels were over the rumble strip, touching the grass. But of course, that's four wheels, not on the racing surface, because the curb is not the racing surface. That is heartbreaking for Cody. It looked like he had a good first lap, and that did not help him. So that's a shame. As we get ready to wait for the race session to start. I don't know. What are you, apart from a top 10 battle, what are we looking for, would you say, in the Pro-Ams and the AMs?
It's hard to say, really. I mean, realistically, you've got to be conscious of how people play their strategies. I think, to be fair, that's the key thing. Strategy is going to be the biggest thing. Strategy is going to be the most important thing as well. So, honestly, I really, really don't know. It's so hard to call a track like this. If you go into a track like Imola, Spa, even to a certain extent, you've got a little bit more, you just got more in terms of options when you know really what's going to happen in a way, because you've got less slipstream opportunities. Whereas, I said, Daytona, it's half the track is flat out pretty much. So, we may have seen some times that weren't necessarily reflective of the driver, depending on if they maybe had a tow, or not necessarily not reflective of their times, but more so they had a couple of tenths increase, or maybe even just a tenth. And we've seen here a tenth could lead you 3 or 4 positions. So once we've got through the first 5 laps, we're going to have a much, much better understanding at that point. Up until that point, it's going to be a little bit tricky to actually work out who's who and where's where.
Yeah, also, just out there, Nick Dirick was just saying he could have done qualifying. Unfortunately, he had PC issues. I say PC, it's more monitor issues. His 2 side monitors decided to just turn themselves off, so he could have done qualifying with a single monitor, and we've all been there before, but especially at a track like this, I don't think you would want to. So he'd fix it, but could you imagine doing this on a single monitor? Once you've gone from triples to ultra wide, I couldn't go back. So that's unfortunate for Nick, but he will be here for the second race. By the way, of course, shout out to Race Anywhere, certified, curated sim racing equipment, now shipping worldwide. And also, one of the things I'd love to just hype up for them, pre-orders are now available on their website for the Thrustmaster T248. I've been seeing that. A nice little kit there from Thrustmaster, which is going to be looking for. Also, of course, Race Anywhere do provide sim rigs, sim stands, monitor stands, seats, you name it, they will do it. Even pedals are out there. So, of course, raceanywhere.co.uk is the sponsors. And also, of course, Sim Racing 3D. They are fantastic, Sim Racing 3D, by the way. Fantastic to see 3D printed parts and components for sim racing. It's a fantastic world we live in now that you can have a 3D printed handbrake or a 3D printed gear stick. I don't know how they did it in the old days. Probably just an elastic band on a Logitech. I don't know if that's what you used to do, but I know some people used to do that.
I remember. Again, sim racing doesn't need to be expensive. It really doesn't. I don't think. But it's amazing how far everything's come, isn't it? Like in the last 6 months. I think, to be fair.
The last 18 months, full stop, when you look at it. I was looking at the stats as well. Just fantastic to see, and especially with iRacing, how it's come leaps and bounds. And of course, as we said before, just before we go off and have a little break before the race, just the idea now that Mercedes teaming up with iRacing, not only to bring the W12E to iRacing, but also their 2022 spec car, which is it's mind blowing from a man that came from iRacing, started in iRacing in 2019, and we can't get this. We can't get the cars because we want the data, and we can't get the data because the teams don't want to share the data because they don't want their race compromised by other manufacturers seeing the data. Now we've got teams going, take the car. We don't care. It's amazing how it's just gone leaps and bounds nowadays.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to also, as you say, hats off. That that is a very, very brave thing. It's some of the reason why we haven't had the cars from some certain leagues. I know, obviously McLaren. You think we've got the MP412C. We've got a lot of new GT3s in the sense of the Ferrari Evo, the Audi, which is still relatively new. I know they got the Evo out and so on. The Lamborghini, for example, as well. But we still haven't got the, McLaren 720S. No, we haven't got that at the moment. iRacing hasn't got that. I'd love it because that would be the car that I drive absolutely 100%. I wouldn't drive anything else. I'd split my time between that and the LMP2 car. So some manufacturers are still just a little bit hesitant, which I think actually goes to show again, doesn't it, Craig, is how realistic sim racing has become, because nowadays teams are actually looking at this as a possible downside of actually jumping into sim racing more, because then they've got data that they can then pass over to their opposition.
Exactly. And I remember the old days. Fernando Alonso, he won a race and it was a new track, and he said, "How did you know? How did you know what you were doing here? I just loaded it up on Gran Turismo." And it's like, so he's driving the track at Gran Turismo with a controller, and he's learning the track, and that was Gran Turismo. And nowadays, you can think to yourself that if you're like a sports car driver who just does like club days, you could, especially with the British tracks, you could just load up a Mazda or load up a Jetta or a GT4, GT3, load up at Brands Hatch or something. Driving around Brands Hatch, you get an idea. You get an idea of the bumps. You get an idea of your braking points, what you're looking for. And you can do that now. And it's fantastic just to see where we've come from the old days, from the days of, well, these tracks aren't laser scanned, but they're really good. But nowadays they are laser scanned. You are going to get it. So it's. I mean, as a kid, I could never imagine myself sitting in a chair with a steering wheel and pedals with realistic feedback, and thinking to myself, this isn't a road, this is a racetrack. It's really amazing just to see where we have come. So I'm really looking forward. Session is shortly going up. I think it might be a good time for us to take a little break because they will be getting ready to start, and then there'll be a little bit of warm up. So I think it's safe. We will give you a little bit of a break. I'd love to know, chat, the nice amount of people out there on chat. Who are you rooting for tonight? I want to see a lot of people cheering. Really want to see who they're rooting for tonight, because we can't tell who's going to win because it's the first round of the Race Anywhere World Series. We'll be back shortly to give you the race. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Race Anywhere World Series on Absolute Sim Racing. Practice for the last little bit of practice before the race starting is just happening right now. It's interesting to see. One thing I've just been watching while we've been away is on some of these drivers that you can see right now with Nick Madsen and others. They're practicing their slipstreaming, they're practicing their pack racing. Some drivers are practicing their pit entry, trying to go in as deep as they can, as fast as they can, without getting any penalty. That's going to be another crucial thing that we haven't talked about, which is going to be fantastic. But the checkered flag for practice waves, and we are getting ready to grid up. And of course, with a short formation lap, we'll do our best to go through the grid as fast as we can. So, of course, Kaz Hugenot does lead the way, followed by Alex Bennett, and then Alex Gao in P3. Joining him on the second row is Harley Horton. Nick LaBouche will be 5th, and Stuart Reynolds 6th. Sean Campbell, 7th, Victor Yowen, 8th, Frederick Puches, 9th, and Harry Wills will be in 10th. That is the top 10 for the pros. You can just see the rest are going down as well. Eyes on James Armstrong for his grid victory once before. Into the Pro-Ams, of course, Svenny Mateus will lead them away, followed by Alvin Kellerberg right beside him. Ryan Hamilton will be next to him with Chris Wally. And then it will be Joachim Joe, Michael Patterman, Valentin Amblad, and Eric Benson as we just continue to go down that list. And then we get to the Pro-Ams, of course, and it's going to be Henning Haig taking us away for slow-mo. He will lead them away with Ingo Lapsian right next to him. Dean Tim for Eclipse will be on that second row in P3. Magna Yonlund will be 4th. Dylan Kinch will be 5th. They were close, remember. David Meekin 6th. Telia Herg and Simon Dodd behind them, and then the rest will just keep going by. We've got a lot of people here. We have 53 drivers around Daytona for 75 minutes. That's mind-blowing. 53 cars, Daniel.
Indeed, 53 cars. Absolute madness. We've actually got someone already in the pits that you can see in the bottom of your screen. So I'm not entirely sure who that is. But not to worry. I'm sure that one will get sorted as well. Just on the blimp cam. Ready to get started for what is going to be an absolutely fantastic race, and one I am very much looking forward to. Too close for us to call. We really don't know anything at this moment in time. All we're going to have to do is just see how it goes. But I am so very excited.
I cannot wait for this. Everybody get ready. I say stand up usually for a big finish, but I think it's time to stand up and get ready for this start. The Race Anywhere World Series is about to start with the slowest pace lap you'll ever see, because the pace car will dart in any second, and then Kaz Hugenot will control. He will let them go when he says they go. We wait for the pace car. The pace car will dart in about now. Now he goes in. What does Kaz do? He just brings up the speed a little bit. He's going to hold them a little bit. What can he do? The green flag, that is not the official green flag. He's waiting. He's waiting. He's waiting. There's a little bit of a bunch up. He's bunching them up. He goes. He goes. He's got his teammate Bennett right behind him. And there is going to have to be 2 by 2 until they get past the checkered flag. In they go right now. And right there, as you expect, Alex Gow's going to take the inside. Also right behind, that looks like the full send of, yes, that is Harley Horton. He's making moves as well. The pros are making some very good moves. We'll wait to see what happens into the first horseshoe. Any moves going on? There's a car off. There's a car accident. Just get up ahead. That is Harry Wills off. Harry Wills off. Martin Nedrick goes off. Other cars is going off as well. I think that's James Armstrong caught up in it, as well as the Pro-Ams are starting to go by themselves.
We're going to have to get a few replays of that if we can. But yeah, not the greatest start for some of these pro drivers. We see it, Frederick Puches got involved in that as well. Pro-Ams do come through. Bit of a wiggle for some people as well. At the moment, it still is Svenja Mathian that is currently leading. Alban Kjellberg. Oh, that was a bit of a send there. Manages to get it stuck though. Fair play indeed. Let's have a quick look at what's going on. Henning Haig still leading the way in the in the AM category at this moment in time. But it's still so very close. As you've got 53 cars trying to come out on circuit, all in one big train, even though there are some gaps. Mart Vertvangler, he's had a moment, he's had a bit of a spin. What's happened? Well, Richardson's been involved in something as well. There is battling, there is lots of things going on side by side. We got a little bit further down, Francois Pedrao and James Warren are going to go side by side down as they come onto the banking for the first time. It all checks up here, which is one thing you've got to be careful of. That checking up is very dangerous, especially with this number of cars out on circuit at once. And now it's a slipstream fest all the way now down into turn 1. Big accident. What has happened to Ethan Bass?
Yeah, safety cars just come out here. There's a lot of cars just on the backstretch. We're going to have to get a replay of this. There was, oh my word, no. There was a free wide coming off NASCAR 2. Hopefully we get a replay to see this. There was a free wide. Here we go with the free wide. There's Ethan Bass right here, and you'll just see he just comes into this right now, and he just sees it in front, and you can just see. And that's Valentin Amblard, Martin Niedlich, and Nick LaBouche. And I believe that was Amblard, faster than the two pro drivers, trying to go through in the middle. And there is no gap there. That is not a bun for a hot dog. And that, unfortunately, is not good. And that bring out a big accident there. And it is Daytona, I'm afraid, Daniel. It's the big one at Daytona.
Wow, you just see there, Amblard just goes to the left ever so slightly. Ethan Bass just had nowhere to go, to be perfectly honest. 3 cars don't go into one space, unfortunately. They never have done, they never will. But yeah, as you say, safety car has indeed been deployed. What a shame. Not what you wanted at the start of the race. It's a long old race. These 75-minute races, it's a fair bit of... it's a fair old time. It is... While it is a sprint race in the sense, you've still got to treat it like an endurance to a certain degree, and getting past the first lap is always key there. It is a little bit tricky to work out. Again, obviously the stewards are going to be running through that, I'm absolutely sure, come at the end of this race and moving forward into the coming days. Yeah, it's a tricky one. It's a very, very tricky one. As much as it is, I've been both sides of it, to be fair. I've been the side of getting involved in an accident that I instigated on the start finish on the very, very first lap. It's not particularly nice, and something that you do tend to learn from relatively quickly. But at the same time, put it behind, move on, and go from there. It's a shame, but luckily safety cars come out, so that's going to allow people to come into the pits, to come out again, and hopefully they'll be on the lead lap.
We'll wait and see. A lot of drivers having a little bit of damage. Now, I'm not saying this is an omen, but I keep going back to that race from 2 seasons ago, and there was a safety car at the start of that race. I'm not saying it's an omen. I'm not saying, but I'm just saying if you want some close action, that may be it. But a lot of drivers all darted everywhere. You can see as well. You've got the whites there for the pros, the blues for the pro-ams, and of course the red for the ams. And you can see some of the pros there really just in no man's land. A lot of them there, and they will not get put back into formation. They will have to start on the restart where they are. So that is going to be crucial. But there are some damage all the way around. You can see Nick Nedlick there with a little bit of damage to him. Quite a bit of damage as well. I was looking as well. Who was I looking at? I was looking at one of the pro drivers. One of them did have a lot of damage at the front. There was LaBouche. LaBouche had a lot of damage to the front of that car. He's got no bumper. That just shows you as well. And he's almost at the back of the Pro-Am. So it just goes to show you what happened there. Augusto Calimi, this is a telltale sign for Ferrari. He has no glass on the back of that engine. That to me is a telltale sign that he's had a mighty shunt. It is basically a damage report right now. And there's a lot of cars absolutely dented, broken. Amblard's in the pits, Ethan Bass in the pits. He's got no engine cover. Some cars have got dents at the back. Some cars have got dents at the front. It's absolutely chaotic. So we're going to have to just take another lap or two, I would think, before we get in, as we just see some more drivers going through. Unfortunately, I think a lot of it started with that first lap incident where I'm not sure who it was, just lost control of the car going into the S's.
Yeah, it's amazing how, again, cold tyres are very, very painful here. They're very painful at the best of times. So you do have to be conscious. You have to be aware of that fact. And again, losing a couple of positions isn't necessarily a bad thing, because that then allows you to build the tyres up in a gradual manner rather than having to push them too hard and put them through a heat cycle too fast as well. That's the other thing. You can, if you're driving from cold tyres and you start pushing them really quite aggressively, the car starts sliding about, you can actually overheat the tyres considerably faster than you would initially expect. And that will naturally give you then less grip for the next 2 or even 3 laps while they start to cool down. So, slow and steady is very, very... It does pay dividends here. It does pay dividends in iRacing. It's just the way that the tyre model seems to work. You've got to be smooth. You've got to be controlled. And if that means going at 85, 90% for the first lap, losing a couple of positions, I think, to be fair, that's a price that I think is worth it. as long as you're able to then capitalise on it later in the race when you've got a much more confident, when you've got more confidence in the car that's underneath you.
Yeah, I believe the pace car lights are off, so we will be going racing this time by. I do remember myself doing some races around here, and of course that kink right between the two horseshoes on a first lap. The number of times I would see a car just slide off with new tires, with cold tires, it does say so. Some mistakes out there as well, and that's just racing at the moment, and some people have to learn. But one of the things I did see, which is a very good point as well, is well, they only get one drop week. And can you imagine your one drop week is because of a crash on the first lap of the first race of the series? That is going to be a hard pill to swallow, and that is going to really be a strain for some drivers that they cannot put a foot wrong as they go forward for the next time. So we'll wait and see what happens. Now, quick update of the rules. Now, we know that they start in different groups on the start of a race. Safety car restart, everybody starts at the same time. The start procedure still remains, so Huguenot will be leading them off, and he will just dictate where they go in the restart zone. That is just, I just want to remind people, because as you can see on the timing tower, we've got so much white in between the blues, so we'll just wait to see as the Conrad Gaming car of Kaz Huguenot will lead us away for this start. I believe they are going this time. Are they going this time by? The lights are off. Is he holding them off? No, okay. There we go. Yeah, there they go. Kaz Huguenot will lead them off. Everyone's going to just group up here. Can we get, Daniel, a safe start here? I'm hoping.
Well, we're going to have to see. Here comes the restart. And again, right, that is it. Lights are off, and there away we go. So Huguenot gets a very, very good start. Nice and clean. He's already pulled 4/10 of a gap to Alex Goll. And it's just going to go as they go through into turn one. Manages to keep it all in check. Riding now on board with Nick Madsen so they can see what happens himself and the next 5 in front of him. All seems to be nice and clean so far. A little bit further down, Harley Horton. Oh, this is going to be a possible brave move. Manages to... Well, hey, that's a very, very well held there from Harley Horton, the number 20 in the Full Send Racing Lamborghini. Manages to keep it all in check. Good stuff indeed. Couple of positions up we go. So Cody Pride has actually lost a few positions to Daniel Gilding and Michael Patterman. So he's going to be wanting to make those positions up. Thomas Dandridge can't quite get by though, so he can't capitalise on that pace loss. Bike tries to go up the inside. Oh, the Nomad Racing car. That is brave, especially again. These tyres are still going to be stone cold. It'll be like starting the race all over again. There's just no heat in these tyres. There'll be no heat in the brakes either, unless they've been trying to warm them up as best they can. But you just haven't got the confidence. You haven't got the grip. So you have to play it safe. You have to. Otherwise, we're going to get a repeat of what we had. At the moment, though, green flag has been waved. And it doesn't look like anything has really happened. This is going to be a possible move, though. Thomas Reiter on Nassir's Joachim Claude. They're going to possibly go through. They're going to go side by side. This is brave at the best of times, especially when you've got cold tyres going into the bus stop. Nope. Managed to slot in single file. So, Thomas Reiter can't quite make a position at this moment in time, but he's got the next... Well, he's got next the entire straight to go along. So is Michael Patterman. He's going to get a double toe off of both of these drivers here, especially when they pull out exactly like we've seen there. Someone's got to slow down up ahead. Can't quite see who that is.
Armstrong.
That is James Armstrong.
Yeah. Armstrong with the slowdown, of course, because we've not had a full lap, they have no idea what the slowdown time is. So if you're going to slow down on this, you're going to be having trouble here. Reiter's going to get ahead of Joachim Code here, and he might be able to break in here. The inside line is the more favourable line. He gets that for Panda Racing. Reiter will do that, and that's what we expect to see a lot of the time here. And he's got a pristine-looking BMW. In fact, his teammate, Patterman, just goes in. Code having a little bit of a moment there. He's now battling with Cody Pride. Can he hold on to it? He's got the inside for the first horseshoe. I think he'll hold on. He does not. And Cody Pride goes around the outside of Joachim. What a move to make. I mean, that's wow. Yeah, I've got no words for that. And Joachim is now in the more threat with Tom Dandridge. And you make one mistake, and there you go. Dandridge goes a little bit wide into the second horseshoe. Make one mistake, you're going to get swallowed up. Joachim was like 13th before this lap. He's now down into 18th. Yeah,
like I said, it's the grid is the grid is so close here, and the grid is so fierce. That's a send. Whoa! Is It's the 46. It's Dean Kim's going to go around the outside. He gives it a go. I mean, fair play indeed. Manages to slot in. It's a brave move around the outside at the best of times, let alone again with tyres still not fully up to temp. And it's not exactly an easy corner to try and go on the outside of, because that's your natural line to wash out wide. Lapsian's going to have to defend. I think there's a bit of bump drafting going on from Dean Timms. He wants to sit behind realistically here and try and get him going into turn 1. Decides against it though. He's going to pull out. Last of the late breakers. No, decides that he wants to slot back in after all. And this is where he can now get the run, providing he is far enough back to get the run, which I think he may very well be. So Lapsian's going to have to just hold it there and make sure he can try and defend as much as he can. Ultimately, though, it might be all in vain, because here comes Dean Timms, forced around the outside, naturally as you would be. But if you can use it to your advantage, you might be able to get later on the brakes if you've got a bit of grip on that outside. As they come down into turn 1, it's going to be last of the late breakers. Dean Timms very late on the brakes there. Is it too late? No, it's not. Manages to get it around the outside. Good move from Dean Timms there. He's up into P2.
Good move there by Dean Timms. And one of the things as well I wanted to point out there, we just watched this is Harry Wills, what's happened to him. If Harry Wills quickly done an off track, just loses the car, or the back slides out, and that's unlucky for Harry. Back just sliding out. Yeah, one of the things as well with Dean Timms' move there, which I love to pick up on, is just the fact that he went high at the right time. David Meakin just trying to look like he wants to make a move. That's going to be tough going into the bus stop. Can he get it done? No, he's just going to have to tuck in at the moment. And what can he provide there with Will Richardson? They're not racing at the moment. He's just going to hold on. Zauberg right behind for slow-mo as well. Got a little bit of damage at the back there for the slow-mo racing car. But we'll wait and see. As I was just saying, getting up on the bank too early when going for an overtake, that's not advisable. As we'll probably see here with Gilding, Daniel Gilding as well. It's not advisable to get high on the banking early. Get high in the banking, you're going to scrub all that speed off, and I know that means you probably don't, you have probably bleed off the throttle. That's an off track, maybe a slowdown for Gilding. We'll wait and see. He's gone high. That's a slowdown, and that's unfortunate for Gilding there. Not going his way at the moment, going down the order. But again, with a lot of these pro drivers everywhere, it's very hard to see who's where at the moment. As Dandridge now wants them go. He wants to go at Joachim. Can he make this stick around the outside? I don't think he's going to make this. There's also some too wide going up ahead of them, which I'm just looking at, and an overtake going on. Dandridge looks like he's going to try and go for this around the outside. Low, he slides on the braking. He holds on to it. A great hold on here. And there may be a switch back here. Can he pull the switch back off? I don't think so. It'll be late braking into the first horseshoe. He's going to give it a go. He's going to give it a go. And at one moment, he almost collected both of them. But into the first horseshoe, he makes the move. And hold on 1 second. They're still side by side into the kick. No, Joachim, being safe about it. He yields. Very, very entertaining couple of sections there for Tom Dandridge.
Indeed, good car placement as well, utilising the drive. BM's got some very, very good drive by the looks of it at this track here. Joachim just couldn't quite make it stick. Well, couldn't quite make that defensive move stick there. But again, ultimately, it's a long way to go. This is a good opportunity as well to just sit behind, just save some fuel. Fuel saving, to be fair, this should realistically be a fuel saving exercise for everyone, if I'm perfectly honest. At the moment, we do now have, this is Victor Yoward and Harley Horton. Sorry, this is actually Nick Madsen that's having a bit of a battle. And that is a move done and dusted. So yes, Victor Yoward has passed Harley Horton. And now, Harley Horton has passed Victor Yoward. And that is a move done and dusted. I think I may be even wrong on that as well. No, I was correct. I don't know what I'm talking about. Ignore me. We'll move on from that swiftly.
I was going to say, we don't want to ignore you. Look at this, by the way, though. We're looking at this. There has now started to be a bit of a breakaway in the pros. We see Victor Yowing on the back there of Harley Horton, and we'll lift off, we'll brake, we'll go high and come down. And you can just see the pros. And that a mistake at the front, sorry. That was a mistake from Huguenot. What is going to happen here is Gal's just going to hold back. I think he will. I think this is what we're seeing. The top four are just all together. And because of that mistake and everyone just checking up, all of a sudden, Harley Horton's come right in. And let's have 7 drivers in this little queue. Because right now, I think P7 is separated by the leader by about, 2 seconds? And that sounds a lot until you realize that's P7. So there's 6 cars between, or 5 cars between P7 and P1, just in the pro field. And this is what we were expecting. And maybe we'll see Horton, make some moves to go up again. But at the moment, I think D7 might just be complacent with just staying in this queue. But now, if you're the last guy like Nick Madsen, I think you're going to have a battle on your hands.
I think absolutely, yes, you will do indeed. Again, you've just got to be, in a position where, oh, hello, it's a bit of side-by-side. Danny Race and Stuart Reynolds are going to go possibly side-by-side. Oh, that is brave. That is very, very brave. Danny Race passed Stuart Reynolds for P8. Cracking move there. Very, very good. Committed as well. Very committed. And then just behind as well, you got Aldwin Kelber. This is the battle for the lead in the Pro-Am category. So Ryan Hamilton for the Nomad Sim Racing car, the number 99. The Lamborghini has got a good amount of drive. So this could be a position gain on Albin Kelberg. It does depend though. The Ferrari is good on the brakes. It's stable on the brakes. The Lamborghini is also very good on the brakes if you can get it hooked up. It's a little bit more unstable in terms of that rear, like we were talking about earlier on, wanting to rotate. But Hamilton taking a defensive line. No positions gain as of yet. But cracking stuff indeed. Look at this battle up at the front. What is happening? Sean Campbell up the inside. Actually, no, sorry, that was Harley Hornson. So Harley Hornson has passed Sean Campbell. That's a position lost. So Sean Campbell, possible again, an opportunity just to save some fuel. This should be realistically a fuel saving exercise for everyone at the front here, and that is what's going to win people races, I think.
Yeah, it's got to be a fuel saving here. You can see Horton. He's trying to get to the front because I think either he wants to take the pace of this train, or he wants to make sure he's not going to lose the train. So that may be why he's come up with Sean Campbell. Campbell, BMW isn't his strongest car, but he is trying different things. He is being a little bit ambitious. He knows that he needs to go with something strong when you're facing the likes of pro drivers around here. And you just see just not getting it right here. Wouldn't be surprising if we see Victor Yowen looks like he wants to make a move. Campbell's still there, of course, but meanwhile, near the back of you can just see this train. Forget about the pro train. Look at this train right here as you see Mark Bailey just leading off I'm struggling to count right now. That's what, 5, 6 cars I think I see there, and then a couple in front of him. So what's that, 1, 2, 3? Yeah, just a massive train at the moment going through. And it's that, Daniel Gilding. Sorry, I was just watching Daniel Gilding. He almost went side by side with Benson into the bus stop, was unable to get it going, but he's got a good run here as he comes on to the bank, and this is what it's about. It's getting the run. He goes a little bit early for my liking on this banking. He'll scrub off a little bit of speed, trying to get the side drop. They're side by side, they touch! They touch! He's in the wall! And Benson goes spinning out there. They were just touching. Oh, that's tough. Benson avoids the pit lane. That's a good save. Avoids the pit lane, but that was not what you wanted to see. Let's just watch this back right here. It was just a little tap. I don't think either driver knew where each other was there, and they were just trying to get the slipstream there, and that's unfortunately what happens.
Yeah, no, there's a little bit of net code in there that probably didn't help the situation either. Credit, I suppose, Eric Benson just sort of like grabbed the brakes and hope for the best there, really. That's all you can do, to be perfectly honest, when you're in that sort of position. I think, you've just got to be a little bit careful. It happens, it's one of those things, as you say, both drivers may not have known quite where each other were. Did cause a little bit of that small little tap. It doesn't take much, especially at that sort of pace that they were going. It's 160, 170 mile an hour. That is a fair old pace to be going at this moment in time, especially when you have a little bit of a tap like that. Meanwhile, at the front, Alex Gull is going to have a defensive opportunity here. He's got to drive defensive because Harley Hornson, he's up into P3. He wants P2, and I'll tell you what, he's going to want P1 as well at this rate. He has got some pace. He's one of the quickest people out on circuit as it stands at the moment. Not by a lot, but by enough that he will start catching up with everyone, and he'll start catching up with Kaz Hugenhout as well. Is it going to be? Is this going to be the move? Are we going to see Harley Hornson go around the outside going into turn 1? It's going to have to be brave. He's going to have to be late on the brakes. Ferrari's got good pace as well. But I don't think it's going to be. Kaz Hugenhout really, really quite early on the brakes. Maybe just trying to avoid that car as well. Harley Hornson, though, oh my goodness, around the outside. What a move from the number 20 Lamborghini. Full Send Racing, absolutely, quite literally fully sending it.
You did see what we just saw there. That is an overtake around the outside of turn 1 at Daytona. That's fantastic, but I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, great driving, Harley. Are you saving fuel? Are you trying to win this with fuel, or are you trying to win this with speed? Because it does feel like a lot of these drivers at the moment are trying to win this with their speed, with their fuel, and not the speed. So that could come back to haunt him right now. Horton has made a great recovery drive to get back up. He started P4. So he started P4. He's now P2. A great run here. And can we just say, that is Nick LaBouche right in front of Kaz Huguenot. So Kaz Huguenot can actually start saving some fuel. The leader is now saving some fuel. That is a scary moment here. Now, with 53 minutes left in the race, there goes LaBouche. He will let them through. We would be seeing pit stops around the next 10 minutes, but the safety car has changed everything. We got to keep an eye on that, just like we got to keep an eye on every battle going around right here, and that is Thomas Reiter on Cody Pride, and just a little bit there just going by. And can I just say, it's a fantastic sight when you see yourself driving against somebody coming around NASCAR 2, and straight ahead of you in the nighttime, it's just 20 car lights coming around, snaking through the bus stop and heading on to NASCAR 3. Tell me a better sight at night racing, apart from Le Mans. I don't think you'll find it.
No, very true indeed. You know what? I just had a quick look. Kaz Huguenot has dropped and has let Harley Horton by. Do you know what? It wasn't contested all that much. I wonder if this is going to be Huguenot's plan. Is there going to be some fuel saving here? If he can keep with this pace, because now Harley Horton, he's got no one ahead of him. He's not fuel saving at all now. He's gunning for it. If the number 50 can stay with him, and can stay with the number 20, that Lamborghini, this is going to be a battle of the fuel saving here. And this, I think, could be where Kaz Huguenot is going to be gaining that place back when it comes to the pit stops. Let's keep an eye on it. Do not count out anyone, to be fair. Don't count anyone out in the top, well, realistically, the top, I don't know, the top 10, maybe the top 8, because, you know, we don't know who's trying to save fuel. We don't know who is saving fuel, who isn't saving fuel, who's pushing, who's not. We just don't know. What we do know is, come the end of this race, it's going to be absolutely madness, because people are going to be on different strategies right from the word go, and it's all going to come about with the last 5 minutes left.
All going to happen right here. Augusto's just trying to get by a amateur driver. It's not been a good race here for him. Unfortunately for Augusto, he does make that move, but he's the pro driver. As you can see, he's P11 in the pros, and he's having to work his way around the amateurs. We haven't talked a lot about the amateurs today, but Henning Haig has basically just unloaded a 3-second lead over everybody. That slow-mo racing Audi is just leading the way, and Dean Timms and Dylan Kinch and Ingo Lapsian are just playing that fuel-saving battle. So that will be one to keep an eye on. Every time I look at the pros, by the way, I look at the pros and see, oh, it's a queue. Who switched positions now? Then I go and look, oh, the Pro-Ams, it's the same thing. Absolutely madness right now. And in fact, we're talking about the Pro-Ams. They've got pros in front of them that they're using. Alvin Kelberg leading the Pro-Ams. He's got Ryan Hamilton and Chris Wally behind him. But Kelberg's able to save fuel right here. He's got 2 pros in front. So this is great. When we say anybody from the top 10 can win, you see those timing towers. As Levi Johnson, too wide at the front. That's a little bit dangerous. Oh, hang on a second. We're about to talk about those timing towers, but let's just go and look at what's happening here. Is there going to be a touch? Don't think there's going to be a touch. Those timing towers, by the way, if it's yellow, the gap is less than a second. If it's orange, it's less than half a second on those timing towers. Top 10, though, the gap between first and 10th is 7 seconds right now.
It's not a lot, is it? And I'm sure that's going to be the same for the entire race, to be perfectly honest, as long as people can maintain that fueling and maintain that position. Levi Johnson from the Eclipse Racing Team, number 69, very, very late and controlled on the brakes. You can just see Porsche a little bit more unstable. The Ferrari nice and controlled on those on the braking, going down into turn 5. At the moment, Harley Horton, he's got a half a second away from Kaz Huguenot, so the gap hasn't gone up, it hasn't come down. But Kaz Huguenot has actually pulled a second gap to Alex Gould. So that is the gap. That's a very, very crucial gap there, because as soon as that tub is lost, which is about 1.2, 1.3, have a look out for them. That's going to be where anyone drops off from that. That's going to be a killer. So they do have to make sure.
Sorry, was that a slowdown by Horton? Because he's just given the position away to Huguenot, and he was slow going on to the start-finish line. Yes, invalid lap. That was a slowdown by Horton, and he served it. And Levi Johnson going around at the worst possible place. Not what you want to see there. But yeah, Horton gave up the position. He had a slowdown. So all of a sudden, Huguenot is the one that's now thinking, where's everybody? And he's got a clean track ahead of him. I'm guessing that slowdown came from the bus stop, of course, but now Horton has to redo all that work, and must be very frustrating, but at least he's in a position that he feels comfortable with. But again, look at this, top 7. The top 7 are inseparable at the moment. So we'll wait to see what happens. Like I said, right now should be the pit window. But with that safety car that took up, what, 5 or 7 minutes? I think we'll have to wait for another 10 minutes, really, until we see everybody pitting. So that's really thrown the strategy up in arms here. I'm quite concerned because that means we're going to get some late pitting, but also we might get some short pitting first time around.
Yeah, we might do, actually, to be fair. You might get people that will come in, do a couple of stops. We were actually talking about this before the race, is what you want to make sure... Actually, a bit of battling going up here. Daniel Gilding, Thomas Dandridge. Oh, that is brave up the inside by Daniel Gilding. Is he going to make it? Yes, he does, into the bus stop. Fantastic move indeed. Can he hold it, though? Manages to get it all in check. Does lose a bit of pace, though. So Dandridge is already coming back on him. You've got to time this right, because at the moment, there is no one ahead. Absolutely no one ahead. Actually, the person is the number 96. That is Joaquim, that's currently just up ahead. Only 7/10. So he's not going to get the toe that he wants. Meanwhile, Thomas Dandridge pulls outside. This could actually be quite a nice, tidy little move here. Cody Pride up ahead has actually just got past Thomas Reiter. Or they're battling as well. Thomas Reiter very, very late in the brakes. Is it managing to get it stopped? Yes, he does. But Dan Gilding, I think he's just got through. Yes, so he has last of the late breakers, and the last late breakers for that time around was Daniel Gilding. So that is him now up into P8 in the Pro-Am category. Sorry, and the next person that he's got up in his sights is that's Joaquin Coda again. So we'll have to see how that battle develops a little bit further up. That's what Pedrao and Peter Johansson having a battle. It was quite close. Now, not so much. It's about 3/10 of a gap here. Again, commitment on the brakes can save you or can gain you so much time. It's actually quite incredible. But you've got to make sure that you're going to get the car stopped. You can be late on the brakes here. I do find as well, the ABS here can be a little bit touchy in these GT3 cars. Even with the updates, you've still got to be a little bit careful. So, again, something that drivers do have to watch out for. If you grab into that ABS for too long, it will send you miles ahead. And you'll miss your braking point, what seems like about 400 yards. It's the one problem with ABS. It's great, it's safer, doesn't necessarily make you faster.
No, if anything, it makes you slower, and if anything, it will also make you ruin your tires a bit more if you just go a little bit aggressive with the braking. So you have just to keep an eye out there, but that is the way it goes. Kaz Huguenot leading the way right now. What can Harley Horton do behind him? He doesn't do much. Just going to hold on, but Victor Yowen makes a move as well on Alex Bennett there. Alex Gow as well, still standing there. This is what we expected. This is nothing out of the unordinary for me. I was expecting an overtake at T1, maybe an overtake at T2, and then everyone just stay together for the rest of the lap. Nothing changes here. In fact, let's just go over these times. This is crazy. Huguenot, 43.444. Horton, 43.437. Gow, 43.418. Yowen, 43.213. A 43.572. And a 43.268. Everybody's close. Like, everyone's just mimicking each other. When I say this is like a peloton, this is what I mean. And right now, Huguenot is leading the peloton. He hasn't got his yellow jersey. He hasn't got the mountain jersey. He hasn't got the green jersey. What he's got, though, is he has got one good-looking Conrad Racing Lamborghini in green and black, holding off the full sin of Harley Horton. But elsewhere, as you can just see, his car's still going around. We do have battles elsewhere, as you can see, and that's a slow Eclipse car there. What has happened there to that Eclipse car?
I can't quite see what's happened there. It could just be, trying to think who that is. It's number 25. So the number 25, that is, just trying to see who that is on our timing tower.
Stefan Kiskard.
Stefan Kiskard. So it is, yeah, I'm not entirely sure. I'm not entirely sure. Could have been a small little moment going through into turn one, which wasn't picked up by us, so that could possibly be what has happened. Again, we're not 100% sure. Currently riding in P13th in the Pro-Am category, so we'll see how his positions move up and down. This is it. People are now starting to come into the pits. Harley Horton, Victor Yown, Nick Madsen, Danny Race, all coming into the pits. So, Cass Huguenot, Alex Goll, Alex Bennett, Sean Campbell, Albin Kellberg, who's now currently P5 overall, bear in mind. These other people that have managed to save a little bit more fuel. Realistically, you want to go as far as you can on the fuel that you've got. You really do. Doesn't really help you in the first stop because you need to bring the tank. The second stop, that's where it gets you. That is what's going to save you the most amount of time. Okay? Because after this first stop, you do have to bring the tank, but you're able to then go further so that your next pit stop, in theory, should be slower because you won't have to put as much fuel in to get to the end of the race. So many things that are going on, so many things that you've got to be cautious of. And again, strategy plays such a big part. Stuart Reynolds is actually going to try and go around the outside, possibly, of Levi Johnson. No cigar as of this time. Loads of people jumping into the pits now. This is it. This is pit stop, pit strategies in full swing here. And we're going to have to see how it all comes out and where people... Once everyone's pitted first, then we'll have an understanding as to where everyone is and where everyone's going to be settling down. But Kaz Huguenot, I think, is driving a very, very good race at the moment.
He's driving a good race. And also, Harley Hawson has no one with him. Victor Yowen is not there. In fact, Yowen also doesn't have Nick Madsen. So these three guys have come together, but no one's with them. No one's working together. They have done that on their own back. Now comes Huguenot. What about Gal? Yes, Bennett stays out again. Campbell comes in. Horton, he's now in that seat. He overtakes one car. Well, that is Augusto Kalimi. But this is going to be crucial right now. Bennett on his own, that is the lonely number. One is the lonely number right now. He will get by some of these drivers. If Huguenot comes to his stop, he's at the front there. I'm just keeping an eye out now. We're seeing Harley Horton right now coming through. Where does Huguenot come? Where does Gal come? The question is, what do they do for fuel strategy right now? That's the crucial thing. Huguenot waiting, and that's a car just going out. That's all right. That's an amateur. We don't need to worry about him. Horton coming around the corner right now, coming to the start-finish line. Alex Gal gets ahead of Huguenot. That's vital. The VRS satellite driver in the Ferrari gets ahead. Nothing for Cavill. There goes Horton. It's going to be close at the pit exit here. Can Horton keep it? Yes. And he gets ahead of Alex Gal. That is vital. He now leads the race provisionally until Alex Bennett comes in. Like I said, one is the loneliest number. Alex Bennett is out there with nobody.
Interesting stuff. I mean, I'm going to be intrigued to see why Kaz Huguenot, both Alex Gal. I mean, Harley Horton, what we may have found here is he wanted to make the jump because he may have not put as much fuel in. That's a hefty time gain. That's a very, very big time gain. It's around about 2.5 seconds. So that is considerable. I wonder if he didn't necessarily put as much fuel in to try and get the jump so he can now get the pace to then push. Now he's going to try and push as much as he can to break that toe. The gap at this moment in time between himself and Alex Gold is 1.35 seconds. That is not enough for a toe. It may be enough for a very, very small toe, but realistically, it's not going to be that much. And if anything, Harley Horton should be able to pull away. Alex Bennett now does come into the pit. Where is he going to come out? I reckon it's still going to be around P3, P4 maybe. It's going to be close though. A little bit further down the field, James Armstrong, Nick Madsen are going to go side by side. No, they're not, because James Armstrong for the RLL Abruzzi Esports car makes the move stick. I don't think there was much defending there from Nick Madsen. Wanted to just get the move done and not lose too much time. Again, it's the very, very key thing there. Minimal time loss is key. And if you get someone that's faster, let them pass. You can then follow them. Lots of ways to, attack a race. You don't necessarily need to be battling 100%. Last 5 minutes, completely different. Midway of the race, you've got to play this a little bit more safe. Alex Bennett is out. I wondered, there is Alex Bennett. Where's Harley Horton? There's Harley Horton there. It's not going to be too far off. So he's going to lose out to Harley Horton. Most probably Alex Gal as well. But Kaz Huguenot, that's going to be close. Pit lane speed limiter is off for Alex Bennett. Here he comes out. It's going to be P4. Only by a few moments, though. By a very, very few. 2/10 of a second? Half a second in the end. Sean Campbell just behind. I think Sean Campbell has to pressure here because he's got warm tyres. Alex Bennett doesn't.
Yeah, and also, one thing to point out there, that's teammates. That's Alex Bennett with his teammate Huguenot. He's not going to be going battling Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton style into the first corner after the pit exit there. He's just going to make sure that they work together. And really, this is the best thing for them, because in the first stint, you had Alex Gal and you had Huguenot just all going around. Sorry, not Huguenot. Sorry, Horton. All of them just going around and just splitting in between these two comrade cars. So that could be a blessing that they're now back together. maybe we'll see Huguenot go a little bit longer on the next stint. Maybe Bennett just goes with him. It will be interesting to see positions going everywhere. And of course, there are other battles going on as everyone's now practically done their pit stops. And I believe some of the other drivers are having some better runs. But Campbell, nicely done there, the BMW as well. James Armstrong having a nice little run as well behind with Victor Yowan. In fact, Victor Yowan's had to take a slowdown. So Armstrong will get a position. He now wants to try and catch up to Campbell. I'm just saying El Clasico may still be on. All these drivers are now going. I don't think we'll see much fuel saving right away. But who knows? Because look at that gap. Look at that gap that Holmes has now put up. Yes, you're reading that right at Daytona. That is a 2.3 second gap between first and second. Do these drivers let him sink on his own, sink and swim on his own, or are they going to try and catch up to him? We'll wait and see. We've still got 37 minutes left in this race.
Genuinely, I don't think there's any point in them trying to catch up. There's literally no point. He's not going to be saving nowhere, even if he is saving fuel, he's going to be saving nowhere near as much as the other drivers who are. They need to be working together at this point. Alex Gale, Cass Huguenot, Alex Bennett, Sean Campbell with James Armstrong. They just all need to work together here. They absolutely need to, because that's what's going to gain them the positions. Ryan Hamilton and Chris Wally are having a bit of a battle here. The number 28 and the number 99 Lamborghini versus BMW, Germans versus Italians. Who is going to cut on top? Oh, a little bit of a slide, a little bit of wiggle for both drivers actually coming onto the exit of turn 5. This is where I think you might just get a little bit of... tyre deck isn't going to be having too much of an effect, but you have got to think that they've got much more fuel on board now with the tyres a little bit worse for wear. So that's one thing to take into consideration. The gap has opened up a little bit now, so nothing really happening at this moment in time. Mark Bailey, that is Souterhaug, Bailey and Kinch that are still having a good battle. You've actually got James Warren a little bit up ahead as well. So, again, these battles are happening here. It's not battles at the moment, I wouldn't say, Craig, is it? It's more, I like to normally say the calm before the storm, I think is the best way to put it.
I like that. I like that. It is the calm before the storm, because they're literally just feeling each other out. They're just seeing what everyone's doing, just paying attention to see how much they're lifting, what they're doing, are they pushing, what are we seeing here? So they're just trying to make sure that now nothing's there. They've had a little bit of fun with the overtake to try and get through the first section, the first part, the first pit stops. Now we're looking at we're looking at the car. We're looking at these drivers take some moves. And interesting that I'm seeing these cars take the middle of the banking. I'm going to be brutally honest. Don't know if we'll see any moves here. I've just seen Dylan Kinch have a great run on Mark Bailey, but just two little lines forming here at the moment. Very interesting. You've got Warren and Sayahog at the top on their own here, and Bailey and Kinch taking the bottom. In fact, there's almost a move and a slide there going on from Warren. No, sorry, that's Sayahog. What was that? Was that on purpose? But this is now just opening up the can of worms. Mark Bailey wants to try and keep the momentum. He's going to go side by side with Warren. He may make the move around the first horseshoe here. Go on, Mark Bailey. Can you hold on to this? He cannot. But a good little move here. And Dylan Kinch sees it now, and everyone's just got a little bit chaotic there. A little bit of a move. I'm not sure what happened there with Tenia there, but it did start a little bit of panic between the drivers there as they wanted to keep as much momentum as they could. And maybe that's just a little bit of the nerves kicking in right there. In fact, there with Kinch just having a little bit of a slide out the second horseshoe. I think maybe he's getting a little bit agitated here.
Yeah, you've got to, realistically, you've got to try and sort of calm those thoughts down pretty heavily, to be perfectly honest. Because if you don't, that's when it does get a little bit more tricky to really manage your tyres, because if you start sliding the car, you start getting frustrated at yourself, then you start sliding again a bit more. You can actually see, you can hear it in the engine note as well. Dylan Kinch is holding off. He is saving some fuel here. Very wise to do, like I said, at this moment in time. There's no point in battling. You've got battles up ahead. If you can let the people battle up ahead, they'll slow each other down. You'll then get a bit more tow. So, swings and roundabouts, it really, really is. Alex Gore and Alex Bennett are having a good old battle, though, at the front. Wow. The two Alexes, number 64 and the number 10, respectively. The 64 for VRS Satellite is currently leading this little train here in P2. Harley Hornton has now extended his gap to 3.5 seconds. You could just see him going through onto the banking. And I wonder And I think what we're going to do, I'd like to see, I'm going to ride on board with Harley Horton, because I want to see if he is coasting at all. This will be a telltale sign going into the bus stop. Now, if you are coasting, you should be lifting a good probably 50 feet or so before the corner, and then carrying that momentum through. Let's have a listen, see what he does. There is absolutely no lift and coast whatsoever. Absolutely none. Normally, so we can, that's pretty much, I think, maybe see if we can see what happens through turn 1 as well. But that, to me, is confirmation that Harley Horton is just trying to get track position. He wants to get as big of a gap as possible to then try and not have to worry about it when it comes into the pit stop.
And not only that as well, he probably has seen that the two Alexes were battling last lap. They went side by side through the first corner, side by side into the first horseshoe, and almost side by side into the kink. As Alex Bennett looks like he wants to try and make a move, and then he lifts off. And then he lifts off, and that is crucial. So it is clear that even after that little fighting by the two Alexes, that Bennett has now decided to start fuel saving. Huguenot behind will start fuel saving. Campbell will start fuel saving. These guys can stay like this, but the gap starts to expand. And meanwhile, Daniel Gilding here having a little bit of a move there, and Michael Patterman is well battling on as well. Can Gilding make this? No. What about Dandridge on Patterman? They hold off at the moment, but you can just see everyone just getting a little bit racy at the moment. The side-by-sides going on, and they see trains happening in front of them. That is the Pro-Am trains, of course. They're still got Kjellberg leading the way. It's interesting now when you think about it. All three leaders are starting to pull away from the pack, which to me says that these guys want to go. We've seen it. Horton wants to go. Kjellberg wants to go. We've seen Henning Haig. We haven't seen a lot of Henning Haig, but Henning Haig currently leading the fray. In fact, Henning Haig, just to give you an idea, Henning Haig has just overtaken a Pro-Am. That just shows the pace that Henning Haig has at the moment. He really is pushing out there. But meanwhile, you've got the likes of Dean Timms. He's leading the way. So everybody else, apart from the leaders, are in trains and holding on and fuel saving. But the leaders are starting to go. I don't know, Daniel. I don't know if that's the right way to go right now. Like, they can force their authority with the pace, but is it going to cost them when it comes to that second pit stop with 31 minutes to go?
I could very well be wrong. Maybe times have changed, and maybe the fuel saving isn't the best position now for people to be in. For me, just fuel saving, especially at a track like Daytona. Like I said, you're on throttle for for 2/3 of the lap, or for half the lap, you're on throttle, full throttle as well. I'm going to interrupt myself here because Ryan Hamilton and Chris Wally are going to go side by side down into turn 1, and that is Chris Wally that is backing out. So Ryan Hamilton makes up a position. He now goes into P2 in the AM category and P10 overall. Aldman Kjellberg is 3.2 seconds up the road. I wonder if we are going to see that time come down. We'll have to wait and see. Time will tell. And time will tell very much so after the second round of pit stops have happened. To be honest, probably not too far away. Maybe another quarter of an hour, and then we'll start getting into that second round of pit stops. The person that's going to be pitting first, which I would be almost guaranteed to pit first, is going to be Harley Horton. I'm so intrigued. I'm just, in awe of the decision he's tried to make. It's absolutely amazing. If he can pull it off, I mean, absolutely fair play. Like, I wouldn't be able to. So Harley Horton, it's got a mammoth task on his hands, but the pace that he's got, 4.2 seconds is the gap. It might be enough, If he can pull and continue to pull this gap, probably realistically every lap, I imagine you're going to lose maybe around about a second, I think, on compared to someone who's able to save an extra, for every lap, maybe a 1.5 seconds, I think you'll gain in terms of not having to put the fuel up. So, it's looking on the cards on paper that it might very well happen.
You're just as excited as I am, because I don't expect to see this at Daytona. I expect to, let's just have a little bit of a go, let's have a bit of a fuel save like we just saw James Armstrong there. He could have gone side by side, but he decided, you know what, I'm going to lift off now. And Nick Madsen and James Armstrong, they're off the main pack, but they're still battling. In fact, where goes James? There goes James. This is the view of Kjellberg, by the way, you just saw behind there. He sees nobody behind. He does have a pro driver in front of him, which is helping him right now, and that's what he needs. But he's got a 3-second gap over everybody. And in fact, like I said, when you look behind, where is everybody? No, it's just Hamilton and Wally having a little battle on their own. So Hellberg is having the time, I wouldn't say the time of his life, but he's having an enjoyable time out there. But like I said, behind them is Hamilton and Wally. And like I said, this is what we expected. There's a lot of just tandem racing, a lot of slipstreaming, a lot of fuel saving. The business end will be that last 15 minutes. And of course, it may be the last 10 minutes because, again, we reiterate, and it does make a difference. That safety car took 7 minutes of racing away at least. That could translate to an extra 5 laps of fuel. But they have to do 2 mandatory pit stops, even if it is just put a litre or 2 in at the end, just to say you've done it.
Indeed, that really, really does have an effect. Sarnkvist has just had a moment. We're going to see if we can get a replay of that we're just being told. So I'm going to see if a replay can be found of that, and then we're going to see what actually happened. Battles, they're starting to ebb and flow a little bit, although we are seeing a bit of stagnation. I think, again, where people are just a little bit concerned. They want to make sure that they are in a position where they know exactly where they want to be and exactly where they want to go. Magla Jonlund is currently in P10 overall, as he just lets by, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but that was Eric Benson that's just gone by. So that's not a position. That's not a move for position. That is just a move outside of class. Stuart Reynolds just got past Daniel Gilding in the Pro-Am category and Pro category. Michael Patzman and Thomas Andrews, again, just going at it consistently. BMW versus BMW. There is just no let off for these two drivers. They're just constantly swapping positions, constantly. The gaps are going to 1/10 of a second, then they drop down to 1/2 a second, then they come back up. It's just backwards and forwards like a yo-yo at this point. And again, showing no signs of stopping. Bit of a slide there as we just come now onto the replay. This is Ola Sarnkvist. What's going to happen? Does he touch a wheel onto the grass, or does he just rotate under his own accord? Yeah, just a small little rotation, half spin, manages to wait, let the cars go by, and then off he goes. Easy to do there. I've done that a few times as well. It's very, very easy to do. Generally tends to have, if you just pop off the brakes a little bit too hard, you'll start trail braking in, and then all of a sudden you lift off the brakes, upsets the balance of the car a bit, and that's when you have that bit of rotation. So that would be what I would suggest that happened there.
We've all done it. We've all done it there, and especially when you're just looking for the move. Oh, what's happened?
Dean Timms has had a spin. Dean Timms has had a spin. We've got a replay coming up for you now. Oh, again, it's going into turn 5. A tricky corner at the best of times. Let's have a look at the braking on the way in. Gets very bumpy. There's the rotation again, just a corner entry. I think you can actually see the brake lights. They were off and then they came straight back on again. I think that could quite literally be a very similar thing that we just saw there. Just a small lift off of the brakes a bit too much, and that's what caused that. Now Dean Timms is being pressured by James Warren. James Warren's actually going to go around the outside going into the bus stop. It's a brave move. Dean Timms holds it on the inside, and that takes that move straight back away from James Warren. You got Terry Soutenhaug as well. Apologies for name pronunciations. Mark Bailey, Dylan Kinch. This all of a sudden, this battle for P3 has absolutely exploded. You've got side-by-side happening there between Soutenhaug and that's Mark Bailey. Dylan Kinch is having a bit of a look as well. He wants to get in on the action. All P3 in the AM class has been blown wide open now with 25 minutes left to go.
Warren with a slowdown. Sorry, Warren had a slowdown. Talk about blowing this up. Warren had the chance, and he gets a slowdown. So it's all going on right now, and he's now at the back of that queue. As you can see, everybody just battling on, and all of a sudden, Dean Timms, after having a moment and losing P2, well, he's still P3 and manages to live to fight another day because everybody just making mistakes ahead of him. So he's going to start pulling away. Ingo Lapsian, unfortunately, is 5 seconds away from him. He may get that P2 back. It's going to be a very strong drive to finish that. But Mark Bailey now, he wants to see if he can catch up. He'll bring along Dylan Kinch. He'll bring along Teddy Tegahug. James Warren, though, he's out of it at the moment. So that little battle just brewing at the moment. But still, it's so close. It's so close. And one thing I've also noticed, the lap timer is saying 41 laps at the moment, even with the pit stop. They're not going to have to worry about how many laps they're going to go. I think everyone's now in the position, they know it's going to be 41 laps. They know what fuel to take. There's going to be no, can I go a little bit less? They have to go for it right now with 41 laps overall.
Yeah, I think as well, as you say, I mean, a lot of people, what you'll find is a lot of people will have, they will have actual applications, race lab apps that will tell them how much fuel that they need to put in, for example. That's actually it's a very popular one that we see quite a lot. Oh, that was a little bit wide there. Was that Thomas Dandridge? It was. Thomas Dandridge goes a little bit wide, and he loses a position to Michael Patterman. So that, again, the battle that we've seen happening on for what seems like eternity, that has now finally come to a potential close. But again, we will have to see. Dylan Kinch trying to make a position back now on Mark Bailey. Is it going to happen? No, it's not, because Dylan Kinch backed out of that a little bit earlier. So Mark Bailey maintains that P4 for the moment. Dean Timms has now pulled a 1.4 second gap back on Mark Bailey, so he's now a little bit in a bit more of a safer position for that P3 as it stands. But again, we'll just round up, getting on for about 20 minutes left to go. A lot is yet to happen. A lot can happen, and I'm sure that a lot will happen. Gap at the front, though. Look at that. 6 seconds. Nearest makes no difference between Harley Hornton and Alex Gal. Absolutely mad pace from the number 20, that full send racing car. Very, very fast indeed. Alex Bennett, though, I think, do you know what? You might actually try and make a move here. Is he still making a move? Or is he going to save some fuel? No, he's backing off again. You look at that gap there. So you see where it just extends. That's not because he's braking early or anything like that. All that is, he's lifting off, probably around the start-finish line, and then just coasting through. It doesn't lose you all that much time here. If you were to actually look back at the Daytona 24-hour held on iRacing earlier this year, if you were to look in the GT3 category and the GTE category, the GT3 category, you would actually find that the top pro drivers, they were actually lifting around about 20 to 30 feet before the start-finish line, which I think is just... And they were coasting all the way through turn 1. That's madness to me. I don't know how they managed to do that and then stick within a relative pace. It's just absolute madness.
I mean, I've seen drivers now clutch instead of brake. They'll clutch and then they'll brake with the clutch down. It's crazy. We're seeing pit stops, by the way. James Armstrong comes in for a pit stop. Did not expect that. He'll come out side by side with Ingo Lapsian. Not where he wants to be right now, and he's almost going to get held up by Will Richardson. He's all right at the moment. Didn't want to be held up behind an amateur driver. But has he seen a gap in the traffic? This is interesting for the RLR Abruzzi Esports driver to take such an early pit stop. He can go to the end from here. Anyone can go to the end from here. So why is he coming now? Because he's also sacrificed having any light fuel running to get some top speed here. But has he just decided, my battle isn't at the front, I was running in 8th, 9th, can I maybe gain a couple positions? So that's one to look out for there for James Armstrong. But Chris Wally is well here. Well, Wally is just having the time of his life. Unfortunately, it's not the right time because Ryan Hamilton's managed to pull away. And that is Wally, who is P3. He's in a little bit of a bubble. He cannot find anybody to slipstream with and hasn't got to defend against anybody at the moment. Danny Ratz there. He's just had an off there. That's an interesting off there from Danny Ratz. Just pushing a bit too hard at that bus stop. Danny Ratz falls in behind. And then we're just going to see, yeah, look at it. Just overcorrecting. Too much speed. Too much speed. But frankly, had a bit of tarmac to get onto. So he doesn't have to try and steer the car on the grass. He can just get that car positioned on the tarmac and go straight. So that is looking... It's a bit of a shame there for Danny Ratz there as he loses a lot of time. Chris Wally, he's losing time as well. The last lap, by the way, for him was a 1:44.268. And that was 5/10 slower than Ryan Hamilton. And you can see that 5/10, well, the gap is now 1.5 right now. There's your slipstream gone. So just the small margins there just cost. And it's very interesting to see what that goes. And you can still see at the front of the field, that orange and that yellow, Gal, Bennett, Huguenot, Campbell, yes, they're all still together. I mean, it really is now a question with 19 minutes to go. Who blinks first? We know it's going to be Horton, but also Bennett pitted a lap later than these guys. Does he pit at the same time, Daniel? Does he just stay an extra lap?
Again, you've got to go as late as you can. honestly, going as late as you can is so beneficial here. It really, really is. I think Harley Horton, again, just looking at the gaps now, 7 seconds. So realistically, I think that's going to be, you've got the polar opposites of strategies really happening here. Again, I'd go as late as possibly can. Ryan Hamilton comes into the pits from P3. That now bumps Cody Pride up to P3, as you can see just on the left-hand side of the screen. Yeah, I'd just be jumping in as late as you can possibly go. The less fuel you can put on board, it's amazing how much time it saves in the pit. Not only are you saving time, well, obviously the main time you're saving is stationary time, which again, obviously is costing you the most. So the less time you can have there, the better. And that not only does it gives you an overall shorter pit stop as well. So realistically, I'd be going as far as I can possibly be. You can save around about, I think if I remember correctly, a minimum half a litre. Possibly, if you're very, very, very good on the fuel saving, maybe 0.6 of a litre, I think. You've got to be, one, very close. You've got to have good pace. And you've got to be very close to someone that's up ahead. And you've also got to be in a position where you are fast. And you're both fast as well. You don't want to be holding each other up. And we can see, look at Alex Bennett. He's probably on about maybe 60% throttle at that point. And then he lifts as well. Alex Bennett's got some good fuel saving techniques here. Because he's not just on throttle and then back off, then back on throttle and then back off. He's holding it at about sort of 65-70%. He might even be doing this now. He is catching up, and at this point, I'd be lifting off 80% throttle at this point. You're still going to catch. So really, there's no need for 100% throttle. And are we going to see this? You should hear the engine note change in a few moments' time. As he comes through, there we go. There's the engine note change. And he just holds it there, be lifting off at the start finish line. Clutch in, you heard that. Don't know about you, Craig, I heard that. Clutch in.
Yeah, I heard that. I also saw, here comes the pit stop. Harley Horton in the pit. Nick Madsen in the pit. Was this the big one now with Horton in the pit? Now, he's holding quite a while here, actually. 27, 20, yeah, he is there. I'm curious, how long does he go? This will change everything for everybody because we thought, well, we knew Harley would blink first. Wasn't expecting it this soon. I was expecting a couple more laps there from Horton. But he'll take the charge, and just to give you an idea of the pace here, he's going to come out in P9. That's just quite some pace there, maybe even P8 actually overall. But he's got clear air. He's seen a great little moment there, especially with James Armstrong, as Armstrong's still, doing really well. He's got Ingo Lapsian behind him, but nothing else. Madsen's going to be coming out. Now, remember we were saying about Armstrong, was he coming in to get a point? Doesn't gain on Madsen, but he's right behind Madsen here, so really good work there, and Armstrong can make something work. But Harley Horton, he has thrown the gauntlet down to these guys. He has thrown the gauntlet down to Alex Gull, to Alex Bennett, to Kat Huguenot, to Sean Campbell. Sean Campbell's a dark horse right now, I will tell you that. He's been at the back of everybody, and he knows what he's been doing. He's seen everybody go. I would say keep your eyes out on that number 26 in the pro field. He could do something right here, but I'm now looking at the pro drivers. They know that something's coming in. Here they come. Only one. That's Alex Gow on his own. So that's the second of the leaders on their own taking the fuel. Wow, I did not expect that.
I mean, to be fair as well, again, we're going to have to see what happens. You got Chris Weddy coming in, Chris Weddy coming in the pits. Now Orban Kjellberg continues for another lap. Meanwhile, where is Harley Horton? There he is coming through. And Alex Gal is still in the pit box. He hasn't left yet. He's probably not too far away from leaving. And what is it going to be? It's going to be ever so slightly slower, ever so slightly faster, only about half a second. So unfortunately, that's going to be him out at this moment in time. So Alex Gow is not going to be able to take the position off of Harley Horton, so maybe not as much fuel saving there that we have seen, but it still was faster. So Harley Horton's was a 15.42, he was actually in the pits for, and Alex Gow's was a 14.93. So ultimately, there is some time saving to be had. Possibly, let's say, maybe around about a second per lap that you can carry on. It still might be very close. And as well, the good thing about it is, as well, Craig, if you think about it, once the fuels is in, that's it. It is full on. Everyone's going to be pushing harder than they have done all race. Dan Gilding comes out. Chris Wally just comes out of the pits. Unfortunately, he has lost a position to Dan Gilding. So he is going to have to try and make up that position again. The gap's only 0.4 of a second. He is on the back foot, though, because he hasn't got warm tyres. Let's keep an eye out for that as well. Is Alex Bennett. So just have a look at the front as well. I'll bring up the pit stops in a few moments, and we'll actually be able to see how many pit stops people have had, and then you'll be able to see. There they are now. So you have Bennett, Huguenot, Campbell, Kjellberg, Pride. They are the people currently that have not made a second pit stop. Neither at the moment has James Costa. So, actually, do you know what? This is it. This is it happening. They're all coming in. In fact, Cass Huguenot, he is already stopped. So is Sean Campbell. Who is going to get the jump? This is about as tense racing as we can see, and it's actually in the pit. We're going to have to see in a moment, but the two teammates, Thomas Rater and Michael Patterman, are having a bit of a battle as well. Are they going to be pushing as hard as they can? Cass Huguenot, Sean Campbell are going out. So both Bennett, who hasn't pitted, and Harley Hornson has pitted. Ultimately, it was about 4 seconds faster. It was 4 seconds faster. The gap has come down. It was 7 seconds. It's now 4. Alex Gold has lost a position. Sorry, Sean Campbell has lost a position to Alex Gal. Look at that. So Gal moves, he is now in P4. Huguenot is P3. The gap is actually 5 seconds between himself and Hornton. Oh, that's a considerable amount of pace to try and catch up. It's going to be a tough order. It could be done. We just don't know.
I'll tell you what, though, remember, there was 7 seconds between them before Horton went into the pit. That is big, and we've still got the last one. We've got the joker of the pack, really. Alex Bennett is the last one. I heard a little bit of a lift as he came out the bus stop there. I think he was worried about the wheel spin. He does have a little bit of slipstream coming here with Francois Padero, but he will be the last one to pit. And what will be his time? Where's the rest of everybody? You know, where are they? Harley Horton is currently just coming onto the bus stop. Bennett is now coming into the pit lane. It's going to be tight. He will not gain that position on Horton. But where can he come out? Will he come out in front of his teammate? Will he come out behind his teammate? What will happen here? Bennett is now in the pit lane. Horton is now through on NASCAR 3 into NASCAR 4. I don't think Bennett's going to do this. He's into the pit lane. He was P2 at the start of the race. So he will just be there. He is loading up the fuel right here. It's going to be a quick one. And especially, remember, he's at the front of the pit lane. He doesn't have to go. That's quick. That's quick. Horton's now going around the corner. Hold on to your hats here 1 second. I don't think Bennett's going to do it, but he may get ahead of everybody. Actually, look at this. Horton's only going to be 2 seconds. This is amazing. Bennett has got the best chance here. That's 2.5 seconds. We've got 11 minutes remaining, and the gap between P1 and P2 is 3 seconds. That is a 4-second gain by Alex Bennett there. Has Horton cooked it? Because right now it's going to be a battle of pace. We don't know what these Conrad Gaming guys have in their pace right now. We know what Horton's got because he's pulled ahead of everybody. Is it too early? Has he gone too early, Horton? Bennett has a great chance now.
He does indeed, you're right. We just got to make sure that he maintains it. So at the moment, you just see Horton is pulling at this moment in time. He's just got a couple of tenths as it stands. Although, yes, you can just see there. So Bennett, he's lost around about, admittedly, he's only just come out of the pits already. So he's got a bit of time, but he is taking on less fuel. He has got less fuel on board. It's a tall order. That's 2.8 seconds. You've got an average about 4 tenths per lap to be able to even get within the chance. That is a very, very tall order. But again, we just don't know, as you say. Once the tyres warm up, then we're going to get an understanding. It's just about to tick over to 3 seconds, though. It's going to be very, very close. We see Sector 4, a bit of time gain there for Bennett. It's not much, but it's still a time gain nevertheless. We cannot take anything for granted here. We absolutely cannot. But there we go. The fuel saving works. Admittedly, Harley Hornton, fair play indeed. Like, no, admittedly, obviously, the gap has come down quite considerably, but nowhere near as much as I thought it was going to be. So, do you know what? Fair play. Fair play indeed. Absolutely fantastic from Harley Hornton. Knew his stuff, knew exactly what he needed to do.
Sorry, there's a slow-mo car facing the wrong way on the exit of turn 1, and all these pro drivers having to navigate it pretty safely. They do. But Frederick Dwory there is still there. He's just parked there. He cannot find a way to go. He's found he's found a place to go. He goes off into the wall. Ooh, that's not where he wants to be. He's trying to keep going, but he's busted that front, and that's caused a lot of issues there. But anyway, Harley Horton leading the fray. You see these sectors. This is fantastic to see this. You see it goes red, it goes green for Bennett. Green is what we want to see for what Bennett wants to see. And the gap is still 3 seconds, and it goes green again. but it's margins. It's margins. It's hundredths. It's not tenths. It's hundredths. And we're just going to see Frederick Droy with this little replay here. He did lose it. Did he just lose it under braking? Is it under the throttle? It's under throttle. And just lose at the back of that into the wall. Taps there. And then he sees everybody. And all of a sudden, it is just a close your eyes and hope moment there. And that is a good staying there from Frederick there to make sure nothing goes. But that's that. Back to this. It is green. But again, it's hundredths. It's not tenths. It's hundredths. And he's lost a lot of time in now. The gap's now 3.5. You can just see it's starting to go there. It's not been a good bus stop for Alex. Harley is in good position right here. And right now, let's look elsewhere because James Armstrong, he tried to make that early pit stop work. He's trying to make it work. He's got Nick Madsen behind him. He got past Nick Madsen. He needs to get past Alvin Kelberg. Yes, Alvin Kelberg, the lead Pro-Am driver, is in between a couple pro drivers. Can he get by? That would be crucial. That would be absolutely crucial for Armstrong. Get by, get a car between him and Madsen. Maybe he can get this P6 and maybe hold on to the P6 better if he gets past his Pro-Am driver.
Yeah, as you say, it's going to have to be something that he's going to try and, if he can get that pass. But no, look at that. Nick Madsen's going to try and go on the outside. He wants to capitalise this. Going to get blocked in, though, by Alban Kelberg. Kelberg actually does dive out of the way. Whoa, that was close. Whoa, hey, fair play to everyone for giving each other enough room. Nick Madsen, though, I mean, after all that, Nick Madsen passes James Armstrong. So, Nick Madsen didn't still maintains that position from James Armstrong. So at this moment in time, no positions happening there. So unfortunately, they both got through Kelberg as fast as they, realistically, the exact same time. So they haven't lost any position. So this is still very much a battle for P6. Who is going to come out on top? We really do not know at this moment in time. Bennett losing more time to Harley Horton. So Horton's got an incredible amount of pace as it stands at the moment. But we're going to have to see, again, coming into these closing stages of the race. A bit further down, Dean Timms. That is Timms, Southernhow and Kinch. This is the battle for P3. Look in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. There's about 6/10 in between this. This is such a big battle here. The person that comes out on top, if anything, I'd tell you what, I wouldn't like to be Dean Timms at this point because he hasn't got anyone ahead. And yet he's got two people behind. The person I'd like to be at this moment in time, to be honest, is Dylan Kinch. Because he's going to have essentially what would be a double slipstream. If he can stay with them and time it right, he might be able to get both of them going on to that final time out of the bus stop.
I'll tell you who I would rather be. None of those three. I'd rather be Mark Bailey right here. Yeah, he's 1.3 behind, but he can see everything happening. He can see everything happening. If they're battling, he doesn't have to lift. Because he can just keep doing his own pace. So these guys are going to keep battling. They're going to send themselves side by side. They're going to hold themselves up. Mark Bailey's going to be there waiting. Going to be waiting for the right moment. He's just going to be keeping his speed. My money right now is the dark horse of Mark Bailey right at the back here as these three continue to go on. Is there going to be a move from Sayhow? There won't be this time around, but he is threatening Dean Timms at the moment. This last spot on the podium is vital. And now comes to that bit, like you were saying, I wouldn't want to be Dean Timms right now. He doesn't get it. He gets a good exit out of the bus stop, but Sayhow is so close. It's not going to matter. The gap is now slowly going down. There's 0.3. Going to be 0.2 any second now. And it is going to... There we go. Can he make this move? It might be a bit too late of a lunge here. He now gets the speed. He now kicks up that speed. He's going to the red line. He goes side by side with Dean Timms. Can he make this move around the outside? They're going to be braking hard for turn one. And I think Timms holds on to it. He does. And Tellier does realize that. And there we go. And then also, as they're battling, Mark Bailey just looking in. Can Tellier do this again? No. Dean Timms with some good defending. But around the outside, hold on one second. Dylan Kinch wants to go around the outside. He can't make this work, surely. He gets a good run, though. He gets a very good run. You know what? They're going to go side by side into the king. There's the overlap. There's overlap. None of it's going to lift. And Dylan Kinch out of nowhere set that up with a move around the outside. He goes to P4 in the amateurs. 4 minutes remaining. Great little setup there by Dylan Kinch.
Absolutely, that was very, very good indeed. It was very close as well. But as you say, Dylan Kinch made it stick. Next person, 7/10 up the road, is now Dean Timms. He's got a bit of breathing room though, has the number 46, which is good. He's going to want that with a few more laps to go. I mean, realistically, you've got 3 laps left, I think. That's probably going to be all that we're going to get. and then we're going to have to see. So that positioning that's currently there from Dean Timms, it's definitely not going to be something he's going to be comfortable with, unless Satterhaug and Kinch can start battling. And you know what? I don't think they are. I think instead, the 98 and 31, they're going to, realistically, what they should be doing is they should work together now, catch back up to Dean Timms, and then they can start battling all over again.
Yeah, they've got to catch back up right now. They've lost a lot of time. And like I said, there's also Mark Bailey. Unfortunately, he's just not getting that pace at the moment. He's matching them. He's unable to be faster than them. So he's out of the equation at the moment. But these two really need to just start thinking about going on. But still, we've got these battles at the front. Pannerman, Reiter, Costa. They're all together. This is for the... Yeah, this is for P6 in class. You can just see it. And it's almost going to be P5 if you put in Joachim there. A mistake from Reiter. And that puts his teammate Pannerman in front of him. That may almost be team orders there by the two of them. We'll wait and see. But they have to catch up there. Joachim is so far up ahead, it's hard to catch up. Can they catch up, or are they just going to have to play teamwork here? Pannerman and Reiter may just be holding off James Costa. And James Costa realizes that he may want to make a move here. He's threatening. He is threatening. But if he tries to pull to one side, the other guy's got the slipstream, and look at that. Reiter and Pannerman are battling right now. Are they just holding off? Who knows at the moment? Only those two know what those two guys are doing. And a bit of a wide move there from Reiter. Costa wants to go into the side. No! There's no room there, James. No room there. And he comes side by side with Thomas Reiter. And I'm amazed he hasn't lost a lot of speed there. A little bit of a mistake. But it does bring Dandridge into the fray.
Not, well, again, like I said, gave it a good go. Unfortunately, it didn't quite work out the way he wanted it to. Ultimately, though, he hasn't dropped too much in terms of pace. He might be able to catch back up. The gap is 1.3. It's gonna be close. It is going to be close. We have to see how it continues, or if it does continue, actually, for the remainder of this race. One of the closest battles, Nick Madsen, James Armstrong, in the pro category, with, I believe, there will be one more lap after this, and then that will be it. And that will be, actually, do you know what? Depends where Harley Hornton is. But yeah, he goes, yeah, so there will be one more lap, and that will be it. Gap 4.6 seconds up the road. James Armstrong hassling the back of Nick Madsen very, very heavily. Again, if I were Nick Madsen, if I was James Armstrong at this point, I wouldn't make the move now. There's no point. You can see, look at that. There's the lift. You need to have that lift until the last lap is going to be where it's at. It's going to have to be. Because at this point, you can now just pin your foot to the floor, get the slipstream, go around the outside, and then you'll be able to get the drag race going down into turn 1. It's exactly what I would do. Look at that. There you go. There's the lift.
Great lift. Great lift. But at the same time, remember I was saying about going on the banking? He would have scrubbed so much time if he just went high there. And again, more lifting. More lifting. They're starting their last lap. They see Barney waving the white flag. A lot of these drivers have seen that right now. Harley Horton, he's just finishing the infield right now, and he is in control of this race. He only has what? This is the last horseshoe, and then it's just three more corners, and that's it for Harley Horton. Meanwhile, down the rest of the field, Thomas Dandridge is still battling. That is with James Costa as they cross the line. Can Costa make a move? No. Thomas Dandridge take that position back. Pannerman and Reiter in front battling. Costa goes wide into turn 1. Maybe a switchback there will help him. Don't think it's going to help him. The time now finally twitches down to 0. This is it for everybody. Just see some other battles there for Dreu. Still trying to battle there himself for a position there on James Warren. Can he make a move? They will be coming down. He will try and go side by side on James Warren. Oh, he's going to give some respect to every driver out there battling. Can he make this move around the outside in the Porsche? He's going to give this a go. You know, I think he's made this stick. No, James Warren's going to hold on to it. But he will maybe. Can he get it? He can't even get the overlap. Can't even get the overlap to go for a move to the inside of the first horseshoe. Be late breaking if he needs it. They're on the last lap, and it's going to be a late dive. Almost touching. They touch as expected. But Harley Horton will come across the line. He rips apart the playbook and takes victory here. He ripped apart the playbook there. Alex Bennett comes second. Kaz Huguenot will come home in third. Alex Gow will come home fourth. Sean Campbell will be fifth. wow, as we see final battle in James Armstrong, he does make that move, and Nick Madsen's got nowhere to go. And Madsen will take P7. Armstrong will take P6. Kellberg right behind will win the Pro-Am from Cody Pride, who had a late surge. Fantastic drive there. And Ryan Hamilton, what an emotional night for Ryan Hamilton, with the tribute livery to his mother, get to P3 in the Pro-Ams. That is going to be a feel-good result.
Absolutely, it will be Henning Haig, the number 79, taking for Team Slow-Mo, taking the AM overall victory. In the AM category. Ingo Lapson just coming across the line now in the Porsche will take P2, and then Dean Timms will be handing on P3 as it stands at the moment. He's a few seconds behind, and then he will be coming across. There is Mr. Timms, so the number 46 in the Eclipse Racing team. So another 100 yards to go, and he will take that P3. We are going to get your full racing results up in a few moments' time. We're then going to have a couple of very quick interviews, and then we will be wrapping up for this evening. What a evening of racing that we have had. This is the if this is the set standard for the rest of the season, I'm very much looking forward to it, Greg.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. Unfortunately, with a little bit of an issue at the start of the race, but mistakes happen, of course, but it's the fantastic racing as well. We predicted it was going to be a slipstream battle. It was. And Harley Horton just decided, I don't want any of that. He raced forward, and he was able to get enough pace, enough of a gap, that he could just go and just ignore any sort of fuel issues that he was going to have. Fantastic driving. And when you think about it as well, around the rest of the field, same thing happened in the Pro-Ams, really, with Kellberg. Had a late dash there from Cody Pride, but it didn't really come to nothing. And then, of course, Henning Haig, he basically just went away with the amateurs as well. So that's that. I want to bring in right now, because as I mentioned, it is a somber night with a fantastic livery for Ryan Hamilton. Ryan, congratulations on the P3. I just want to know, how did you find that race, especially with the chaos at the start?
It was kind of easy, to be honest. I gave way to the guy alongside me. He got a better start than me, and then it was just basically just pick where everyone was going and follow. It seemed, I mean, obviously I'll watch it back, but it just seemed like there was an accident at every corner, and it was just survival of the fittest, and it's what helped me put me up into the higher places of Pro-Am. Yeah, it was. I mean, obviously, well, the stewards will look back at that and see what happens. But I know that this field can do better, and hopefully we'll have a better first start to next race.
Yeah, and of course, as I was saying as well, that special tribute for you. I think that's a fantastic that you got onto the podium. I was rooting for you, if I'm brutally honest. I was rooting for you. Next week, what are we expecting from you next week? Are we going to see another top? We're going to see another podium? We're going to see another challenge in the the Nomad Lamborghini?
Oh yeah, just give me a sec. Hopefully Daniel was doing really well from the back. He was second to last, and I think he was only like 5 places behind me at one point. So he had an accident like near towards the end of the race. I think we look strong. I felt really strong. Obviously, coming racing with the GTC, I think I've learnt a lot more and rubbed shoulders with like some really like top talent. And I think it's given me the confidence to take this Lamborghini and rag it around any sort of track, even Belle Isle, which I only like bought like the day before, went practiced, and I ended up finishing third in I'm in there. So it's just getting confidence, and I'm glad that I've been promoted to Pro-Am. I really want to test myself, and I can't wait to fight it out for this championship.
We can't wait to see you, Ryan. I've loved watching you the last few seasons. Love seeing you in Pro-Am. I'm really looking forward to see what you can do. I'm going to let you go. Of course, it's a bit of a late night. You've got any shout-outs before we go?
Yeah, can I just shout out to Nomad Sim Racing. Thank you, guys. They brought me in for the 12-hour cancer support, and that's the reason why I'm a bit emotional today, because that was my first race with them. Obviously, after my mum passed away. I'd like to shout out Dire Consequences on Twitch. Anything D&D related, go see them. They do 3 games a night. Thank you to Harrods as well, and thanks to you guys and Race Anywhere for putting on this championship. Can't wait to keep going.
Thank you very much, Ryan. Hopefully we will see you next week. All the best and have a good evening.
Yeah, have a good evening, guys. Thank you very much.
And now quickly, just for the end of the race, let's just bring in the winner, who basically tore up the script tonight, Harley. I've got to be honest, what were you expecting? You tore the script up. There was no slipstreaming by you. You just went straight for it. Talk us through it.
Yeah, well, obviously it wasn't a great start to the race with the spin on lap 1. I thought it was me that caused that massive wreck, but there was quite a few spinners. Seems like cold tyres was really bad, but once I got going again, everyone around me was saving, like ridiculous amounts of fuel, it felt like. So when I got to the front of the pack, after the first stop, I just went, and the amount of time I gained by pushing was a lot more worth it than saving a load of fuel. So yeah, it was quite a strange race, really. I thought it would have been a massive pack, but we managed to break away and yeah, get the win.
Are you expecting that for later races as well? Are you expecting to probably just do a breakaway more than just fuel save? Because it does feel like there's a lot of tracks on the schedule that you would have a lot of slipstream. So are we going to see this again from you, or are you going to keep everything close to your chest?
Yeah, well, next week is Interlagos, so it's really not a slipstreaming track. But after that, you've got like Le Mans and stuff. So I think for this race, we just had a really good setup. The pace was good enough to drive away, but in future races, if it's very close, you won't be able to do anything like that. So we'll see.
I can't wait to see. It's great to see the full send out there as well. Have you got any shout outs before we let you go?
I'd like to say thank you to everyone in the team. They're all supporting me in the chat, especially Sean. So yeah, thank you to those guys, and thank you to you guys as well for organising this series. The broadcast has been great, and Harry's really good at organising. It's been really well run and really good fun.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for that, Harley. We'll let you go. Congratulations on that convincing victory with a fantastic strategy. All the best, Harley. We will see you next week at Interlagos.
See you next week. Thanks.
Well, Daniel, that is it for the night, I feel. That is a fantastic night of racing. And if that is what we're going to see for the whole of the season, I feel that is going to be fantastic. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for watching us. If you do like what you see, hit that subscribe button and the thumbs up on YouTube. Underneath the video is, of course, a link to all our sponsors, Race Anywhere, Sim3D, the World Series League, and, of course, our website, Absolute Sim Racing. It has been a pleasure to bring you tonight's racing, and I'm pretty sure Daniel will also join me with that. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, from Daniel Handover and myself, Craig King. Thank you for watching Absolute Sim Racing. We will see you next week at Interlagos.